if this works. Are you watching on your end? Can you see anything up yet?
Yep, there it is.
Okay. All right, so let's get started, guys. If I can close out of this. Okay, so we're trying something new today, guys. I'm here, and I've got Sandy, John's wife, on the phone with me. So she's going to kind of be helping read through questions as they pop up, so I'm not having to delay going through anything as I'm talking and doing that awkward looking down thing. So she's going to be feeding me questions as they come through. So if you guys have questions while I'm talking, feel free to still post them. I might not get to them right away. I know that there's a little delay on my end. So Sandy's going to keep up with the questions that need to be answered on my end. And then we've got some of the NRSNG members on the computer side of things that will be posting different things for you guys via the computer and throughout the comments. So like links to things if you need them, different resources, things like that will be posted in the comments. So keep an eye out for them there as well. So hopefully this goes smoothly. We apologize if there's any delays or difficulties with this. This is the first time doing it. Also, we're going to try and shorten this up a bit tonight because we've noticed when we kind of go a little bit longer, things get delayed and we kind of get shut down. So I'm not going to speed through things, but I want to get to your questions too. So I'll kind of hit all my points and then we'll try and get to questions at the end. If there's an important question that kind of fits what I'm talking about, Sandy will jump in on the phone end and read me that question so I can hopefully answer it in a timely manner. All right, so why don't we go ahead and get started. If you guys want to follow along tonight, there is a blog post that I'm kind of basing this whole topic off of. We are talking NCLEX tips. So we're going to be talking about how to prepare for the NCLEX, steps that you can use preparing the week before NCLEX, and you can even kind of lengthen that out to a couple months before you plan to take the NCLEX. They're just really good study tips and a plan. I'm also going to be talking about SATA questions or select all that apply. We get a lot of emails about those, so I think it's a really great topic to kind of go over, prep you guys for those, give you guys some tips on how to go about taking those SATA type questions when it comes to the NCLEX, because I know people freak out about them. Okay, so the blog that we're kind of following today is the Week Before NCLEX blog. So there's the link to it. There should be a link up at the top too, excuse me, that you can kind of follow along, or you can go back and read over it once we're done. First point that I kind of want to cover, there it is. When you're getting ready to take your NCLEX, and you're preparing your study plan, it is important to sit down and really assess how you're going to study. You want to assess everything. You want to sit down. You want to be completely social media free. You don't want to be, sitting on Facebook on the side. You don't want to be thinking about your next Snapchat. You don't want to be scrolling through your Instagram. You really want to sit down, take your calendar out, and really assess what type of time you have to study. You want to look at all your commitments. You want to look at your work schedule. You want to look at your family life. You don't want that going down the drain. You also want to look at, if you have kids, you need to look at their schedule. Do they have sports during the week? Do they have school during the week? Now that it's summer, are they in activities? Are they in camp? Do you need to pick them up, drop them off? Do you have a babysitter? So take that into mind. Your spouse's schedule or your significant other, if they work full time, if you have commitments with them during the week, take those into account too. Be realistic when you're trying to plan out your study schedule. Step number 2 is to actually plan. So what kind of time can you allocate to studying after assessing your schedule and your life? You want to block out some reasonable chunks for your study sessions. Reasonable meaning you can't sit down and study for 4 hours at a time. I mean, it's just not, it's not going to happen. You're not going to sit there and study questions for 4 hours and be able to comprehend everything and have it all sink in and really have it work for you when going to take the NCLEX. So when you're planning out your time, schedule out small chunks of time, maybe an hour at a time. Maybe in that hour you're studying and then you're taking a 5-minute break, and then you're studying and then you're taking a 5-minute break. If you need to plan these things in between kids' activities or spouses or work, make sure that you're blocking out time for that as well. The other thing you want to do is you want to designate a specific plan for your study time. So when you're blocking out these times, have an idea of what types of things you're going to be doing on those days. So we always say for your first day of studying, you really want to plan for the most amount of time. You want your biggest chunk to be there, because for day one, we really want you to sit down and take a full assessment of your knowledge in nursing. That kind of gives you an idea of where you need to focus the rest of your time. So day one, block out your biggest chunk of study time, whether that be an hour or 2 hours. You really need to sit down at that point and take like a full-blown test. A good way to do that is our nursing practice questions. If you go to www.nursingpracticequestions.com, you will find a really great study tool. Let me see if I can scroll down on this. Sorry, I'm new to this whole thing. So you will find a really great study tool for your nursing practice questions right here. There we go. So you can start practicing and click the button and kind of take an all-inclusive exam. This is the free version of nursing practice questions. So you can start practicing. This will say log in or register. So if you haven't registered, registration's super simple. It's just putting in your email address, your name, creating a password. It's now all integrated into our NRSNG website. So if you do have a username and password for that already, it should work, I believe. If it doesn't, you can always sign up again. So it really breaks it down into different topics in different areas. And you can also take like a full test. So if you say start practicing, it'll just start giving you random questions. So you can go ahead and answer the question. So I'm not reading the question, I'm just answering. Probably going to be wrong. So obviously that's incorrect because I didn't even read it. But you can keep going through to the next questions. And after taking a full test, there's a calculator up here too, by the way, in case it's a math question. But after taking a test, it'll kind of give you an idea of where you're at, what subjects are your best, what subjects are your worst. And that way you kind of know where to focus things. So once you know where to focus, then you can go back and focus on the specific area. So say your trouble area was cardiac. So you can go back to the cardiac, click on cardiac, and get specific cardiac questions. You can either hit start practicing, and that'll just give you random cardiac questions, or you can look through all the questions and kind of see which questions you want to try out. I recommend just starting and kind of getting the random questions. That way you're getting a full assessment of your knowledge. They also rank them here with the difficulty. As people get their questions, they can give us feedback, whether they like the question, whether they dislike the question. And this kind of shows you, based on how many people are getting the question right or wrong, it'll show you how easy or hard it is. So this one's obviously an easier question. As you get down here, this is a hard question. Not many people are getting that one right. Hard question, easy question. So that's kind of a good place to start. It'll let you know what you need to study and what you need to focus on. So day one, we say, you know, whether you use nursing practice questions or you use another study tool, we say to take a full assessment, really block out that first day to take that full assessment and see where your knowledge is at and see where you need a little bit of extra help. So for day 2 through 5, if you're looking at a week-long plan, obviously you can schedule this out for a month. That 2 through 5 will be your day 20 or your day 2 through day 27-ish. you want to focus your study. So what we mean is take those specific questions. If it's cardiac that you're having a hard time with, focus on cardiac type questions. If you see specific areas in cardiology, maybe it's EKGs you're having a problem with, then go back and study your EKGs. Taking the questions and practicing the questions is going to help, but if it's the knowledge that you're missing, you need to have the knowledge base to answer those questions. You can have all the strategy in the world on how to answer questions for the NCLEX, but what really is going to help you is your knowledge base. So if you're having a hard time with just the knowledge portion, you're going to need to go back and study for those things. So kind of just take notes on the side on your topics that you're having issues with, and then you can go back to those. You want to block out probably like 20 to 30 minutes at a time to just take questions. And then after that 20 to 30 minutes, take a 15-minute break. Go do a load of laundry, have a snack, take a walk, do something just to get your mind off nursing, because sitting there for too long of a period of time is not going to help you when it comes to studying. I'm sorry, I just realized I never put up the next topic I'm talking about. So this is implementing your plan. This is what we've been talking about. So 20 to 30 minutes, 15-minute break. Then go back for 20 to 30 minutes, 15-minute break for however long your allotted study time might be. So if you allotted yourself in your calendar 2 hours of study time, you're going to do 20 to 30 minutes, 15-minute break, 20 to 30 minutes, 15-minute break, and do that until your 2 hours is up. Okay, and then 2 days before your exam, you want to have all your paperwork together. So that means your ID. They check a lot of different things there, so make sure you're aware of what you need in order to take the test. The worst thing that could happen is if you get there and you don't have your ATT, or you don't have your ID, or you don't have a necessary form of identification that they're going to be looking for in order to let you test. So you want to make sure that that's all planned out. You want to know where your testing site is. If you've never been there before, I highly recommend driving out there. It sounds so goofy, and when my school told us to do it, I was like, seriously? Like, you want me to drive across town just to go see where parking is? But honestly, it helps, because like the building I had to take mine in was completely hidden. So if I hadn't done it the day before, a couple days before, I would have been freaking out that morning. Like, I'm going to be late. I'm not going to find this place. So I highly recommend actually driving out to your facility site. If you can, walk in the building, see which suite number it's in, just so you know exactly where you're going to be going the day of the test. It'll take a lot of the anxiety and a lot of the worry out of it. And if you're running late, then you don't have to worry about like finding the place. Also, if parking's kind of hard, it's nice to know that ahead of time. The building I took it in was small. It had a small parking lot out front. Parking wasn't a problem. But I've heard of other people say that they got there and realized that it was meter parking and they didn't have any change. And they had to worry about getting a ticket the whole time they were taking a test. Like, that's not something you want to worry about when taking your NCLEX. So definitely drive there ahead of time and make sure all your paperwork and everything is in order. So that you're ready to go the day of and you have a plan to fall back on. So the day of the test, we want you, that is not what it is. We want you to relax. Sorry, I don't know where the other one went. Day of the test, relax. Don't do anything NCLEX related. Don't study. If you don't know it the day before the test, you're not going to know it. It's just a matter of fact. You did all the studying you could up until then, so do something that you like to do. So whether that's going to get a massage, whether that's hanging out with your friends, whether that's just sitting and watching TV, binging on Netflix, catching up on shows that you missed because you've been too busy in nursing school, do that. Do whatever it is that helps you relax, get your mind off nursing school, and not stress. You also want to make sure you get a good night's sleep the night before. If your testing center is really far away, we highly recommend getting a hotel the night before. That way you're not driving 4 hours to your exam before you have to take it. Like, the last thing you want to do is drive a long distance before you have to take your test. So get a hotel. It might be a little expensive, but it'll be worth it in the end, because you'll be able to wake up fresh, have a nice cup of coffee, relax a little bit before you have to rush over to get your test done. So definitely recommend that. Relax, relax, relax. And the last thing is what not to do before your NCLEX. Do not pull an all-nighter. Like I said, if you don't know it before, if you don't know it the day before, you're not going to know it. Cramming, doing a cram session, studying with friends, taking all the questions in the world the day before the test is not going to help. So make sure that you're prepping at least a week before, if not a month before your exam. Excuse me. Don't wait to figure out your logistics till the day of. Like I was saying before, take the time to drive out there, know where you're going, know how the parking is. Believe me, it will be worth it in the end. You don't want to be figuring all that out the day of because you might get lost. You might not know where the building is. You might not know where the suite number is. And if you're late for the test, you can't take it. Don't go out drinking or partying with your friends. I know I say relax, but if that includes having a few beers, I don't recommend it. You want to be at your best. You don't want to be groggy, no matter how much practice you have in you, and how many questions you've taken. If your brain is foggy from drinking the night before or staying up too late, all the practice in the world isn't going to help you answer those questions with a foggy brain. So, the test. I kind of wanted to go over bits and pieces of the test. You want to know, when I got there was a ton of waiting beforehand. We just sat in a waiting room and kind of all stared at each other waiting for people to check us in. I think that there was like a picture and a fingerprint scanning, and they checked our IDs. They patted us down, like checked our pockets to make sure we didn't have any study material in there. And then once you get to your station, you'll have headphones, so it kind of blocks out everything else, which is nice. And it also is for anything that you have to listen to on the computer. So if you have a question that requires audio, that's there for you. There's no food or drink allowed in there. So if you do need a snack break, you have to raise your hand, or if you need any type of break, you have to raise your hand. You have to wait for somebody to come in and get you, escort you out. If you need a bathroom break, they'll wait for you at the bathroom and bring you back in, just to make sure that you're not cheating by any means, or like looking at notes, because you can't do that in between. You'll have to lock everything up in a locker beforehand, your cell phone, everything else. So I recommend not even taking a bunch of stuff in. Bring your wallet with your ID and whatever information you need to show them in order to take the test, and that would be about it. Trying to think. Oh, the computer will shut off. It is scary. Even if it shuts off at 75 questions, it's scary. It's going to scare you no matter when it shuts off. So be prepared for it. Even though I can tell you that you're never prepared for it, it shuts off and you're going to freak out. But don't. You know, if you felt good about the test and you felt like you were getting those right type of questions, those higher level questions, most likely you passed. So don't stress out. It stinks that it's not an immediate result, but try and keep calm after the test is over. There's all those tips and tricks after the test to see if you passed, but sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. So don't freak out and just wait for your real results to come through. So Sandy, I'll see if, Sandy, are there any questions yet about the NCLEX before I go over SATA questions?
One person named Andrea asked, how far in advance should you start studying?
So Andrea asked how far in advance you should start studying. I would say, so this plan is for a week, but a week isn't really enough time to really study everything you need to know. That's more just a plan for a week before. I would say to start studying at least a month before. I think that gives you a good amount of time. It also depends on your schedule. If you've got time to start studying weeks before, do it. It never hurts to keep taking questions. Practice, practice, practice. We say that that is how you're going to pass the NCLEX. Any other questions so far?
Nope, that's it for now.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go over SATA questions, or select all that apply, because these are the question, or these are like the hardest questions that, or the questions that students seem to have the most questions about. Sorry about that. Let me open this up. So the kind of rules for answering SATA questions. The first rule would be know your concepts by heart. That means studying. If you have a solid foundation of nursing knowledge, that's really going to help you with those SATA questions. Nursing knowledge is really going to be your armor against those types of questions. I mean, there's really nothing that can help prepare you more than just knowing your information and having a solid foundation. You want to really look forward to SATA questions. I know that's crazy to say because people really don't like them. They do not like select all that apply. It terrifies them. It scares people. Maybe you do love it and maybe you look forward to it, and that's awesome because that'll really prepare you for the NCLEX. So the example that we gave was, like when you watch a scary movie and you've already seen it and you're going to watch it for the second time, it's not scary anymore. It's kind of like the same thing with SATA questions. If you prepare yourself and you know that they're coming, they're not going to make you as nervous. They'll kind of just be more questions that pop up and you're just going to go with the flow and it just works. And the next one, learn to love SATA. Basically what we mean is if you're getting SATA type questions during the NCLEX, it means you're doing well. So be happy when you see them because it means that you're at that level, that passing level. So if you continue to get them, I know that it could be frustrating, but it means you're doing a good job. So keep going, keep with it. Don't let them throw you off. Don't let them make you nervous. Just rely on that nursing knowledge. You want to strip the fancy strappings. SATA is basically a more complex true or false question. You need to understand what's being asked. So you need to read the question, you need to really understand what they're looking for, and then you need to look at each option, each of your answers, and you need to see whether it's true or false. So read the questions, know exactly what they're asking, and then go through each question and basically say, okay, does this fit that? Does this fit that? Does this fit that? And if it does, you click it. And if it doesn't, keep going. Resist the urge to group your options. SATA questions have separate answers for a reason. They're not associated to each other. They are not meant to be grouped into each other. They are meant to be looked at as individual options. So just because you picked one doesn't mean that something similar is automatically true as well. So for this example, if you're teaching a patient with scurvy which food items are a good source of vitamin C, the patient asked what citrus fruits are recommended, your teaching to the patient would include, and you want to click all that apply for this. So if you look at the question and break it down, it's not only saying good sources of vitamin C, it's also saying that the patient is asking citrus fruits. So you want to look at this question and say, okay, the question is asking me which of these are citrus fruits. So is pumpkin a citrus fruit? No. Is an apple a citrus fruit? No. Banana? No. Is an orange a citrus fruit? Yes. So you'd go ahead and mark number 4. Eggplant? No. Mushrooms? No. Lemons? Yes. Papayas? No. So what we mean by grouping them is by saying, okay, I want to pick all the fruits. Okay, like I'm picking oranges, so that means apples must be true and bananas must be true and lemons must be true. That would be grouping. You don't want to do that when you're looking at a select all that apply question. You want to look at them as individuals. It's also saying that, if I'm going to pick all of them that are an orange or a yellow hue because that would be vitamin C. That would mean that papaya would be included, but papaya is not a citrus fruit. I'm going to apologize. My computer might die. I think I need to go grab my computer cord. Let me yell at my husband to grab it. Adam, will you bring me up my laptop cord, please? Will you grab me my laptop cord? My computer's going to die. I am so sorry. I didn't realize I was on such low battery. So the other thing you don't want to do is you don't want to overthink them. The questions are meant to understand what's being asked of you and which options that apply. So like I said before, know what the question's asking and figure out which options apply to you. They don't want to force you. Thank you. All right, I'm good. To study cardiac, I would go back to your cardiac textbook. I don't know that I could recommend a specific NCLEX study book as they're all kind of comprehensive. So if you're needing to practice questions, like I said, we have the nursingpracticequestions.com website that'll really help with that, and it's very interactive rather than a book that you're going to have to look up the rationale on your own in the back of the book usually. So if it's a topic that you need to go over, we can recommend some books if you want on specific topics. Other than that, I don't know anything that really covers it all. Like if you're looking for coverage on med-surg to study for NCLEX, then I would go back to your med-surg textbook. So sorry about the delay. Sorry about my computer dying. So basically you want to avoid overthinking things with the select all that apply questions. You don't want to be forced to correlate one to another. They're all separate answers. Don't go back and forth between answers. You really want to stop that doubt train. If you look at an answer and you think, yes, this works, this is true for the question that they're asking, select it and then just keep going. Don't go back and debate your answers. That's when you're going to get things wrong. You want to trust your gut instinct and really stop that doubt train. You also want to mind the unspoken select all that apply rule. They say that there's always a minimum of 2 right answers. So you're never just going to have one. There's going to be at least 2 for every question. All options could be correct, or there could be 3 or 4 questions, or 3 or 4 answers that could be correct. But there's never going to be only one. So the only time that you should ever reread or rethink your answer is if you only picked one answer. So if you picked one, that's the time you're like, all right, I need to reread this question. I need to see exactly what they're asking me. Did I understand what they were asking? Did I miss part of it? And then go back and check all your answers again and see if they ring true. So I think those were all the points that I wanted to hit. So Sandy, are there any other questions?
I see one more right now from Celeste. Do you think that ATI/HESI are adequate tools to prepare you for the NCLEX?
So Celeste asked if ATI or HESI are adequate tools for NCLEX. I can't speak on HESI because we didn't take it. I hear that it does prepare you. I think that I've heard that it's a little bit harder than ATI and maybe even NCLEX, so that should be a good prep for you. My school had to use ATI. That's what we had to use to prepare for NCLEX. We had to get the green light from our ATI instructor in order to go on to take NCLEX. I can say myself that I got the green light and I did pass NCLEX on my first try, but I also studied a lot in between. But the ATI program I know kind of helps you pick out your weak spots and your weak areas of your nursing knowledge. So that kind of will help point you in the right direction of what to study. So I think it can definitely be a help and a good study aid. Anything else?
I don't see any right now.
Okay. Well, it doesn't sound like we have any other questions right now. But if you guys continue to have questions once we log off for the night, you can continue to comment below, and we'll definitely keep up with those tonight and tomorrow. And we'll be able to answer those via text through the comments. And if you have any specific questions that you'd like answered kind of privately, feel free to contact us at contact@nrsng.com. That's our email address. So if you contact us there, we'll be able to connect you with the right resources and get you some answers outside of the social media world. So I hope that helped you guys a little bit. NCLEX can be stressful, but try not to stress. Really just have a plan and practice and prep. That's really what we want you guys to do. And if you do all that, you should be golden. You should pass NCLEX without a problem. But again, if you guys have questions, feel free to leave us a comment, and hope you guys have a good night. Happy